group. That's what I think it is. I think it's the I don't give a damn factor.
Now let's talk about effort. I mean, this is the NBA Finals, and we're talking about effort. That's a huge concern of mine. You know, we had guys out there that were just, whether feeling sorry for themselves for not making shots or thinking they can just turn it on or off. This is not the preseason. This is not the regular season. It's not round. This is the NBA Finals. And that, to me, is really, really perplexing, disappointing.
You know, it definitely seems like Jimmy's got a point when he talked about the Heat not caring. You know, the Heat, 8-point underdog in Game 2, giving them their 10th upset win of the postseason. That breaks a tie with the 20. Guys, we got to get to the game of the night. It was Game 2 NBA Finals, and it was the Heat down 1-0 to the Denver Nuggets. And boy, 50 assists in a single postseason. Hey, Nuggets were up 8 after 3. We get to the fourth quarter. Hell, the Heat went on a 10-0 run. Gabe Vincent knocked down that 3 to the rim. Bam had 21 and 9. Heat up 11 after the free throw. But you knew the Nuggets were going to come back, and they did.
Yeah, Jamal Murray, it doesn't.
Miami Heat, who walk away with a Game 2 victory, 111-108. Jokic, 41 and 11. Jimmy Butler, 21 points, 9 assists. We're all tied up at 1 game apiece.
I just think nobody cares on our team. We're not.
Where were those open shots again? And so Mike Malone, it seems to me, really got on his team after this game about that. I was not in the Nuggets locker room. I want to be clear about that. But boy, the vibe was that Malone had really gotten after his team because 3 of his starters, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Aaron Gordon, and Michael Porter Jr., all of them left without speaking to the media. That is not something that you see after Game 2 of a series, maybe after you get eliminated, but there was obviously some emotion that came off of that team last night. And I will say that there might be something to the Heat strategy of letting Jokic go ahead and score all the points, and that he is
for the most by any team in the last 30 postseasons. Okay, let's bring in everybody here. And Wendy, you were there last night. What did you take away after this? Especially, you hear Coach Malone talking about the Nuggets and the lack of effort.
Yeah, so one of the things that really concerned the Nuggets after Game 1, as good as that game was how many open shots the Miami Heat missed. It was not just the ones that they, you know, the number, but just how open those shots were. I think they had 16 shots that were considered wide open. And they really tried to get onto their team to not expect the Heat to miss those kind of shots again. And then right out of the gate, in-game postseason and the Nuggets losses. Now, if I showed you the numbers, the Nuggets were still great on offense last night. It wasn't like they failed to score just because the Heat sort of forced Jokic into shooting. But there might be something about the Nuggets overall as a team where they're better defensively when everybody's involved, when they have more of a democratic process, because they were a little sluggish defensively last night, and Malone really got into them after the game, and we'll have to see how that plays out going into Game 3.
Herc, what'd you think?
Well, one, I hope Mike Malone got on himself because Eric Spoelstra's game plan was just too much for him on both ends of the floor. Kevin Love in that starting lineup was huge. And we keep talking, I hear all this stuff about what Denver didn't do defensively. How about the Miami Heat and the way that they played with pace in the half court? The way that guys were cutting to getting guys open shots. The misdirection plays that they played within their offense, the DHOs, making Bam the point center. That was huge. And I just think we underrate what the Miami Heat do offensively, but they do a really great job.
You heard Mike Malone telling his team, hey, look, we're going to get offense. Guys, I need effort out of you.
Yeah, it's the defensive effort that was missing last night. But also on offense, I felt like it was like, oh, we're going to try this back cut. Oh, the Heat are in the way. That's the end of the back cut. And so I think there's multiple efforts that the Nuggets need to make both defensively and offensively. But Duncan Robinson last night, and Perk, I'm glad you brought up what the Heat did, because at halftime, they had pushed the ball up the floor 25 out of 51 possessions, which just spoke to the pace that they were playing with getting into their offense earlier, even though the Nuggets technically had outscored them in transition at that point. But the pace at which they played, opened up more lanes for guys to attack. It beat the Nuggets defense up the floor before they could even set up and close.
Even if he's not shooting the ball, he's able to be a decoy out there on the offensive end. I thought Eric Spoelstra had a perfect game plan. Defensively, I thought out of timeouts, he made the necessary adjustments or mixed things up for us blitzing Jamal Murray at times, starting Jimmy Butler on Jamal Murray. I was critical of him last night on social media for as Jimmy Butler not getting buckets and being aggressive, but then I had to think about it. He actually took ownership of guarding Jamal Murray on the defensive end. So although we want to discredit and say that the Denver Nuggets need to do this better, the Miami Heat did a whole lot of things better, and Eric Spoelstra had his team ready to play.
It was interesting because it's almost like they said, Jokic, you score, you're not going to be a playmaker. Only 4 assists last night.
He mentioned it on the call. The way that he has elevated his game over this postseason and broken out of just this shooter role has been terrific for this Miami Heat offense. And so now you're really looking at this series like, will defense travel? Because the Heat have that ability to play defense. They are still living and dying by the three-point line at a high percentage in my mind, but the defense last night was very, very impressive.
Give Eric Spoelstra a lot of credit. Duncan Robinson was a guy who was out of the rotation in the regular season. He has certainly come up big here. He had 10 points in that fourth quarter. Kevin Love got the start yesterday. You see that paid dividends. Of course, at the end of the game, the Nuggets opted not to take that timeout. They pushed the ball. I want you to listen to what Tim Legler had to say about this on SportsCenter last night.
He got a clean look. Yeah. They're going to say that they're going to live with that. I think down 3, you take advantage of that, having that timeout. That's the whole reason they've got that rule. Advance it. Be about 10 seconds on the clock, probably take it inside, out of bounds, and I think you've got more options at your disposal to get what you want.
All right, Perk, you heard Legs. He didn't like it. He wanted a timeout. What do you think?
I have to disagree with Legs on this one. You're down 3. You're dealing with Eric Spoelstra, who, if you're down 2, if you're down 1 and you're dealing with and you have one timeout, then yeah, I could understand the timeout. Down 3 with Eric Spoelstra on the sideline, I actually like this no timeout by Mike Malone.
Wendy, what do you think?
Yeah, I think ideally you have Murray set up for a shot like that as opposed to trying to create his own. But you're not going to get ideal in the last moments of an NBA game, especially going to foul there. He made the indication to his players, no foul, so you know that you got a chance to get off a three-pointer. I thought there was a number of reasons why the Nuggets didn't win this game. This was not one of them, in my opinion.
Jamal Murray's generally been their closer.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about just, hey, look, just letting them go. Let's try to catch these guys scrambling.
Well, if you watch that play back, you see.
We're so focused in on what we do well.